this is Jimmy Mitchell, and we're back with another episode of the Libertarian Uncensored podcast. Let's get right into it. This is The Sad Truth by Strong Ninja 4455. This is the first post we have here. And that is Julian. It's SpongeBob, a Squidward looking out, and SpongeBob and Patrick running around the open, that meme. And it's over Squidward is Julian Assange in prison for revealing war crimes, and outside is Blackwater war criminals, and they're just running around. Hey, that's the thing is, the thing is, if you reveal the war crimes, they arrest you, but if you do the war crimes, you get to run free. Though, that's just as our society is, I guess. It's just not a very nice society, and it just kind of shows that I agree with that meme very much, yes. Then we have, new psychology research reveals that the bullshit blind spot, a series of studies found people who were the worst at detecting bullshit not only grossly overestimated their detection ability, but also overestimated their ability compared to other people. I would agree, from SciPost.com by Motherfucking Inc., and I'd agree with that. The thing is that everyone thinks they're so smart, but anyone can get got by bullshit, and I think that the social media is a very good showing of that, I would say. The Acidification of TikTok and Other Digital Platforms by Zorbor, and that's from Wired.com. And yeah, I definitely would see now. I hope for more framework that will me. Yeah, I wish we had a framework that more empowered individual liberty and autonomy when it came to social media, but I don't think how that's gonna happen anytime soon. But we can always hope. I would say. They are literally admitting to being a police state based on fear. They keep saying the quiet part out loud. This is it's from a tweet from as a post from John Keenan, tweets from Roger Bellicker SJ. This is more political than this policy. It ramps up the police state, but it's also just politics. So, yep, bring workers in Florida to passing law to prosecute immigrant workers. Yeah, that's the thing. They all the builder shit, and they always are gonna restrict people's rights. So that's why I don't think that we should have justify the government passing any legislation be on the federal, state, or local levels. That's my thoughts there. We just got to get rid of all this legislation, because it never usually ends up too good, I would say. And then we have Reddit joins the tech layoff trend by cutting workers amid a stalled IPO from Fortune.com, and I posted that. And yeah, they laid off 5% of their workers. And yeah, it's mom said it's because they're losers, and I'm glad at least someone gets it. So the thing is that it, Reddit always is feels like it's just digging its own grave, like if the API blackout coming up and all that. But hopefully we can see it be done soon. And yeah, I don't really like it too much, but I do like to read for my podcast on it, so that's always good. Blair White gets caught sexualizing child Holocaust victim Anne Frank in a bizarre conversation with an unknown man where she asked him to rape her and call her Annie. Why is it that the people who accuse the LGBT community of grooming turn out to be the ones who sexualize children the most? And that's a post from Chi-Town. The tweet is from Blair White fact checked on Twitter. Yeah, so I think I would say we've come full circle. The left is accusing a trans person of sexualizing children because she says the wrong stuff. It was probably just her being edgy, but you can't be edgy without being called Hitler these days. So that's my thoughts there. So yeah. Let's see. Federal judge blocks DeSantis ban on gender-affirming care for Florida trans youth. Gender identity is real. Science is real. Of course, we talked about that in the last episode from it's by Chi-Town. That's what we talked about in the last episode. It's from Independent.co.uk. But I guess the thing is that some people think gender affirming care is good. Some people think it's bad. But I think the thing is that we shouldn't be forcing our views on other people. I personally am against gender affirming care, but I guess if you can justify it and have the force to defend it, you should be able to do so, I would say. Virgin birth recorded in crocodile for first time ever. Nature of trans from livescience.com by Chi-Town20. And yeah, that's interesting. I would say that, yeah, I like the top comment by Cyber Cusco. Fuck, Jesus came back with triple landing. I would say that's something of too much with libertarians, but I think, if people want to have virgin births, they should be able to, but I don't think it's necessarily possible. But, there are, every once in a while, you see stuff like this, so who knows? I guess, yeah. 3 months before Laura and I met Snowden in Hong Kong, Obama's DNI James Clapper lied to the Senate, falsely denying NSA spied on Americans en masse. Snowden provided the proof. NSA did exactly that. Yet this U.S. surveillance state never died. The fight for privacy continues. That's a tweet from Glenn Greenwald, and I said, NSA spying on U.S. citizens is probably a lot worse today as well. I don't think it ever stopped. And Clapper shows you can get away with a lot as long as the narrative is on your side. Then we have a tweet from Michael Malice. When I say it's one mind in many persons, that is not a metaphor. And it's two people replying to him. One of them says, that's cute. You think we have to regret what you call us woke. We first coined the term, you all tried to steal insurance and thought we actually might have find money. And the other person says, but woke isn't on Scotland. Why do you think we claim the word and you work loving for and you name yourself if you believe it pisses us off? So I think that's interesting. The thing is that, everyone, I think, people are like social media kind of makes people think thoughts inherently collectivist. And I think you're seeing that as time moves on because I think people need to, a lot of people, I thought social media at first would maybe a lot of people think for themselves, but it seems to be having the opposite effect, at least from my perspective currently. Protect the kids. Conservatives are now endorsing mass shootings at schools with pride colors. And that's from Kage blah blah blah. And that was how a guy on Twitter said, yeah, what is mass shooting 500 pat? I definitely don't think you should be justifying mass shootings, but I definitely think, it could be a false flag. There's a lot of false flags on Twitter. And, also, I think, it is definitely something that people should be able to question. I think, not necessarily say, "Oh, we're gonna actually," if you look at it, and see all the rainbows and all the people in the weird outfits, you just can't question it. That's the thing, and that's why I think a lot of people, um, are really critical of it because you seemingly can't question it without them coming after you for it. NYC enacts Homeless Bill of Rights, but doubts arise over key provisions such as right to shelter. A Homeless Bill of Rights is now law in New York City. And that is by Harump, and that's from abcnews.go. I personally would be more against the Homeless Bill of Rights, not because I'm against homeless rights though, but it depends how can we enforce these rights. That's the thing that we have to, like, what do we say? Do people have a right to shelter? But what if the shelters are full? Does that, you have to, you can't just say things are right. Like you can't just say medical care is right and then expect forced doctors to work. So that's the thing is you need to be like John Locke says and look at rights versus needs. And I think that's important because you just can't say food's the right and then there's not going to be infinite food because you said it's the right. And I think that's something that we need to look at here. The Biden administration still insists that cannabis consumers have no right to arms from Reason.com. That's by Harumph. And I would disagree with that. I think you should be able to use whatever you want and do whatever you want as long as you're not violating the NAP. Then we have more like libertarian and moderated. This one guy, Henry David Kerseroy, thinks this subreddit's, he doesn't like how restrictive libertarian or the libertarians where it is, but he thinks libertarian censored is too uncensored. And I said, trust me, I'm more tired of left circle jerk than you are, but as a moderated subreddit, uncensored does mean uncensored. And ultimately, spam is a subjective term, and I don't want to remove anything that subjectively, and I don't want to. I'm tired of the circle jerk, but we gotta support free speech, and that is something that is seemingly definitely going away a little. It seems. North Dakota GOP Governor Doug Burgum announces run for president in 2024 from CNN, and I posted that. Another guy who is entering the increasingly 2016 sized GOP field this week along with Pence and Christie. I don't think he has much of a chance of being the governor of a state as obscure as North Dakota and having a last name that looks like Buggerum, but anything can happen in a lot of politics, so we'll see how he does. Violence breaks out at school board meeting over Pride Month. Extremists attacked LGBTQ plus parents, from thepinknews.com by Whittling Dan. Of course, political violence is seemingly increasingly breaking out thanks to social media and really getting under everyone's skin. And I think we're going to see that more as time continues, but only time will tell. Oklahoma okays nation's first religious charter school, but litigation is likely to follow, from theconversation.com by Harumph. And I personally wouldn't justify that, but I think if the taxpayers want to pay for it, I think they should be able to pay for it. That's my thoughts there. Former ByteDance executive says Chinese Communist Party tracked Hong Kong protesters via data from TikTok from NBCW.com, and that definitely doesn't surprise me. People probably track you for all your apps these days, and that is something that's important to remember. DC woman wins legal bid to bar neighbor from smoking pot in his home, from nypost.com, and that is by another one by Harumph. I think you should be able to do whatever you want in your own property, but I do think you have to be aware of what the other property owners might think as well. So I think this person should probably insulate their house better, and hopefully they should be able to smoke weed there soon if they want to. I do think that's something that does impact someone else's property. I think that's something that important. If something does impact someone else's property, I think this is something that's really important to note as well. Jim is at it again, letting trolls through the autofilter. That's from Doctor Who 07. And I posted that, and no, I gave Doctor Who 07 was that, and I said, yeah. Every time you step out of line, even a little, people come after you for it like a pack of wolves. But I personally believe in free speech. But on Reddit you can't have complete free speech because you can't have the trolls saying words that might be considered offensive and get subreddit banned. So that's my thoughts there. I would say I just want to Reddit is increasingly non-free speech. I personally wouldn't spend too much time there, but the thing is, if I had better things to do, I would agree. But I'm autistic as hell, and the internet is the place I'm able to speak up for myself the most. So that's my thoughts on that issue. I wish we could have more free speech on social media, but it looks like increasingly that's being taken away from us because of the advertisers, I would say. Title Twin Season 2 Episode 4 live stream premiere. Think Outside the Flocks on the Dangers of Tribalism. That's a good libertarian kids show. People should, we need to question tribalism and always question question groupthink. As I was talking earlier, social media groupthink is a huge problem these days, and I think people really need to start noticing that more, I would say. One comment says, if your political ideas are best summed up by poorly animated cartoons, you might want to accept that you are not mature enough to hold political ideas. Well, I would disagree with that. You're free to express that, but if your ideals are best summed up by box videos, people might feel the same way. So that's important to note. Biden vetoes a bill to cancel student debt relief program, from WFA.com by Harumph. And I personally have student loans to pay, but I definitely wish we could get rid of this because people do have to have some sense of financial responsibility. You can't just have all loans magically disappear, I would say. If I could do it again, I probably wouldn't have taken the loans out, but I think I do have to pay them back, and I think I'll hopefully start paying them back soon, with maybe later this year, I guess. Why the world still needs trade: the case for reimagining, not abandoning globalization. It's from my Harumph, and that's an archive link from looks like Foreign Affairs. And I definitely agree the world needs trade, but I definitely think we've globalized a bit too much. So that's my fault there. I think I think trade's important, but I do think globalization does have a point where it gets to be a little too much and a little too forced on other people, and so that's why I think people shouldn't be forced to accept it if they don't want to. Australia plans legislation to ban swastikas and other Nazi symbols, officials say, from NBCDFW.com by Rumpf. And I would say the symbols are disgusting, but we need to support free speech. Let bigots be bigots as long as they don't violate an apple, show others what losers they are. And I don't like communists either, but I think their ideology is violent as well. But I have never advocated for banging the hammer and sickle. We need free speech for everyone as long as they're not violating NAP. I don't care for Nazi marches, but that is free expression and not NAP violation. Probably mostly feds as well these days. And the ACLU used to stand up for Nazis' right to free expression as well because they knew how important it was. Sad that this ideology seems to be increasingly lost to time. We need to support free expression, even if it's for people to despise, as Noam Chomsky says. Twitter admits in court filing Elon Musk is simply wrong about government interference at Twitter from techdirt.com by Kage blah blah blah. I personally disagree with it. The FBI they didn't necessarily force Twitter, but they clearly pushed them to. They implied that they should do it, and I think that's enough for it to be considered a problem. Who do you consider to be the 10 most influential people in history? I posted that, and I said Michael H. Hartz. He's kind of a toxic jerk who's openly white supremacist despite being Jewish, but he did sit there for his list. Top 10 from 1992 for reference: 1. Muhammad, 2. Isaac Newton, 3. Jesus Christ, 4. Gautama Buddha, 5. Confucius, 6. St. Paul, 7. Kai Lun, the inventor of paper, 8. Johannes Gutenberg, inventor of the printing press, 9. Christopher Columbus, 10. Albert Einstein. So my list would be personally, I think right now it would be 1. Jesus Christ, founder of major world religion, Christianity, basis for how most number there is currently. 2. Muhammad, founder of a major world religion in Islam. 3. Gautama Buddha, founder of major world religion in Buddhism. 4. Abraham, ranked by heart 1982, but though Moses and Jerusalem is ranked 15, founder of a major world religion in Judaism. 5. Socrates, ranked by heart 1992, arguably started modern Western secular humanism. I argue you could consider it kind of religion as well, kind of the Western equivalent of Confucius. 6. Karl Marx, ranked 27 by heart 1992, founded communism off Engels, someone whose ideas are slowly but surely standing the test of time from my perspective. 7. Adolf Hitler, ranked 39 by heart in 1992, not the founder of fascism, that would be Mussolini, but definitely almost everyone holds up to be the ultimate example of a bad person, currently kind of the anti-Jesus Christ in that regard. 8. Thomas Edison, ranked 35 by heart 1992, did a lot of significant work in recording and film, arguably two of the biggest ways modern narratives are spread. 9. Johannes Gutenberg, the printing press allowed for mass distribution of narratives and ideas on a scale not previously seen. And 10, I put Tim Berners-Lee, ranked by heart 1992, probably the most influential person alive today, despite being relatively obscure to a lot of people. His mention of the World Wide Web has quickly become the predominant way to spread narratives and ideas. So that's my thoughts there for the most influential people in history. Many of the states endlessly freaking out about TikTok still have state websites that funnel sensitive data. TikTok from techdirt.com by Harumph. I definitely think, it's hypocritical. That's the thing is, data when it comes to the social media and the internet, it just spreads like wildfire. So I understand how that can be a problem. And then finally we have Maine's legislature passes bill to partially decriminalize prostitution from reason. I think that's good because I think sex work is work, and if people are willing to pay for something, they should be able to do so as long as the NAP is not being violated. That's my thoughts there. So I think we're gonna wrap it up there, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.